and welcome to Nursing Different with Nurse Incy. So guys, I'm so sorry that I haven't posted today. Well, I've had quite a busy week. As you know, I'm also studying a computer engineering course. So I've been so busy with that course.
And on top of that, I've not been too well the last couple of weeks, so all of that combined, and being a mum, it gets a bit heavy.
Someone's actually requested for me to do a video about my experience as a general practice nurse. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is just how I got into it and where I am with it today. So in terms of my career with general practice, that is literally what I wanted to do from the time I started nursing. Being a mum, it just kind of fit in well with managing my son and then being able to work in a field that I love. But also what I really loved about it is the fact that it's just broad, so you can deal with a variety of different things without sort of specializing. So you can deal with cancer care, you can deal with diabetes, you can deal with just minor things but also quite complex things. And then the one thing the one thing that really attracted me to it was the fact that you could also work with children, which again you would need to specialize in if you were working in the hospitals. So I definitely say that's something that I really was like, oh okay, that's really interesting, because that's a skill that I didn't have before. So going into my general practice role, I actually met a lady. I don't know whether I can say her name or not, so I'm not going to say her name. I met a lady at a Nursing Times careers fair, and I would urge anyone that is considering nursing to definitely do your networking and do your research and go to every event that you can, because you just never know who you might meet there. So with this lady now, she obviously explained that she worked with public health and they're looking for sort of primary care nurses, and they've got a course that they're doing starting soon. And at this point I was still in the hospital, I was still working in my first role, so I kind of was frustrated with where I was, and I really wanted to change. So I gave my details to her, and I actually didn't hear back from her for possibly 8 months, but I don't think that's how everyone's journey is going to go. That was just how mine went. So I didn't hear back from her for about 8 months, and then all of a sudden I get an email from her saying, oh hey, are you still interested in the role of a general practice nurse, that we've got a practice that's actually needing a nurse. And I was just so happy to get the email, because that's something I've always wanted to do, and finally the opportunity had opened itself up to me. So I said yes, I'm interested, please sign me up. And then I came for the interview, and it was so like refreshing, because the interview was really informal. I thought it was going to be very formal with like a test and this and that, but the interview was literally like a chat. So the manager and the clinical manager, they basically wanted to have a feel of the type of person that I am. So they took me into the room and they asked me general questions to do with my experience as a nurse, but also why I'm looking to get into primary care. And I sort of explained to them that I really want to settle in a place where I can grow, and primary care has always been that setting for me where I feel like I can grow and expand my skills. And then they sort of asked me general questions about my experience and my skill set in regards to what I can and can't do as a nurse. And then actually they gave me the job the same day. I was driving back home, and then I got a phone call from the clinical manager, and she said, congratulations, you've got the job. And I was just so over the moon. I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I've been given the job. And then I pretty much didn't start until about a month or 2 months after, and I think that's just to do with the practice. One thing I would suggest is double check with your practice in regards to starting date after you've been given the job, so you don't have to end up waiting. Because although I was given the job in October, I didn't actually start until December. Really a lot that I could do, because I didn't really have experience within that sector. So I was kind of a trainee, and one of the things that they did do was get me to train up. So I did loads of like e-learning and just training and stuff like that. So definitely do your e-learnings before you apply for the job, so that when you go in, you've already got the certificate to show that you've already done the e-learnings, because it's just so much. But yeah, so do the e-learnings prior to going there. There wasn't really a lot of nurses there, so there was only 2 other nurses. There was the clinical manager, who was also a nurse practitioner. So technically she wasn't really a general practice nurse, she was a nurse practitioner. And then there was another nurse who could also prescribe. She was a nurse prescriber, but she was the only sort of nurse that was. And so she was given as my mentor, so someone who's kind of overseeing the things that I do and signing me off to. I was able to meet the criteria of a general practice nurse to be able to practice. So they've got a checklist of things that you need to tick off before you can actually see patients and do certain things. But actually with the minor things like dressings, doing urine dips, you can pretty much do that. The things that I did have to do certain training for before going ahead with is the childhood immunizations. And I actually found that the way I did it was probably a way that wasn't done before. So when I really started to see patients, that was in the beginning of COVID. And so we were still seeing children and we were still seeing patients, but just not as much as what we would normally see on a day-to-day prior to COVID. But how it's normally done is that you go off for a training, which I was meant to go off and do, but they kept cancelling it because there wasn't enough people on the courses. So you go off for about a day or 2 and you learn and you practice face to face with a trainer and stuff like that. So because I didn't get to do that, the lady that I had met when I went to the Nursing Times careers fair, she actually works in Public Health England, and she works with she works in the department that takes off people who are new to general practice. And so she was saying that she was having discussion with other people, and they agreed that there's this platform called e-learning for health, which is a platform that any health professional can go to pick up some training on different healthcare things. So anything from flu vaccinations to diabetes, asthma management. There's loads of training programs that they've got on there. And she said actually the course that's on there is a course that's recognised by Public Health England. And so in me doing that course, I was able to get on and just do it without having to go for further training. So I think it was childhood vaccinations and immunizations, or childhood immunizations. If you type in immunizations, it should come up. It might not say childhood immunizations, but just type in immunizations in the e-learning for health portal and it should come up. You do have to register. However, the account is free. They don't charge you. I'll try and put up the website down in the description box so you can go on it. All you really need is your NHS email address, but to be fair, I think you can pretty much get away with a normal email address as well. So if you don't have an NHS email address, you can actually get away with just putting in your normal email address, so long as you give the area of work that you're in. So I still had to give my trust details and my speciality